Welcome, welcome. We're just going to have some fun tonight. If you're ready, I'm ready. Boy, am I ready. I've just had too much fun getting ready for you guys and all the things we're going to talk about, and they're all the fall trends. So trends, when you really talk about trends, it just means kind of more short-lived. Style is longer, trends are shorter. So classics, and I've been a big, I've always been a big person on classics. Classics kind of with a twist. And trends are kind of opposite of that. So I, get a little confused sometimes on trends because they're for the moment, but they're good. I mean, they're good. And I think what I decide is when I want to spend more money on something, I want it to be more classic and more traditional and something that I know that will last me a long time. But when I'm following a trend, then I can do stuff that's less money and it just pops for the moment. And then also my expectations of it being in my closet for a long time are less. So that's kind of how I juggle it, but it's up to you. I do like trends because it's kind of what's current and it's new and it's fresh. And the one thing I've learned in my life is new is fun, new is good, new is encouraging, new is necessary. Can that be our slogan? New is necessary? I think that's really true. Okay, so I'm going to go over these trends today. We're just going to have fun talking. And we'll start with our first picture. If you have any questions on what we're talking about, let me know. We're going to start with blouses. It was a few years ago when knits were just everywhere. And I remember thinking, I wonder if we ever see a silk blouse again in the stores. Because I love blouses and I miss blouses. And boy, have they made a big comeback. They've paired them with jeans, just like I have on. And they're so lovely. They're just beautiful. And they're fun. A blouse is always going to take a little more time to make than a t-shirt. It just is. You've got buttons and buttonholes, and even if you don't do buttons and buttonholes, just wovens are going to take a little bit more time. Wovens are a little easier for some of you because you think that the fabric is more predictable, and you can, knits vary a little bit, and that you can get the same answer over and over again. So for all of those reasons, we're just going to talk about blouses a little bit tonight. We're going to start with those. The blouse that I have on is 601. It's Monse's asymmetrical blouse. Obviously, all of our patterns are in the trends, the new fall collection, because I was watching the trends and made the patterns all about the trends. And so, I don't even mean to plug them, but they're very stylish. The fabric I made this one out of is 4744. But I love the store on Saturday, our little store of fabrics, because I get to meet you all, I get to talk to you, I get to have real conversations, and I love those. I really enjoy all of you coming in and saying hello. So one of the things I kind of got called on the carpet for a little bit ago was this blouse. This is a blouse by Frame, not this blouse in particular, but someone said to me, you just don't do these puff sleeves, and these puff sleeves are everywhere. And she's right. I don't do puff sleeves. And I went back and I kind of had to think for myself, why don't I do puff sleeves? The answer is I hate puff sleeves. And so it goes back to when I was a first pattern maker, and not my very first, but one of my first jobs that I worked at. I worked for a company that did Mother of the Bride clothing. Mother of the Bride. And this is, college days. So I'm not even going to tell you how many years ago it was, doesn't matter, but puff sleeves were everywhere, and all Mother of the Bride dresses had these big puff sleeves. And so I'm slashing patterns, and I really decided I hate puff sleeves. Not only did I hate the pattern work, I hated the look, and unfortunately I still have PTSD from that whole scenario. I haven't gotten past it, but I really realized when she said that to me that I really needed to get past it. However, puff sleeves are no question a trend. They are a trend. Gathered sleeves, whatever you want to call them. Because as soon as they're here, they're gone again. Because they're not the most flattering on us. But again, I stand here in puff sleeves and I love this blouse. So I want to show you this picture. This is Frame. And this blouse, to both of our dismay, as she pulled it up, and she had been to Neiman's and tried it on and saw the price, and I don't even know what the price. I forget to look at these prices, you guys. What's $200? So close to $200 for this little blouse. And we were both complaining that prices are kind of ridiculous, especially when it's just a little cotton blouse. But I think that's why it comes back to me over and over that Love to sew. I love to sew. I love to just, and I don't a lot of times look at prices except when I'm talking to you guys, because I'm always thinking in my head, I'm just going to duplicate that. So the more ideas, the better. All right, so if we notice in this picture, I want you to look closely. So keep in mind that when I looked at this picture, it was, to me, it was kind of just puff sleeves on a blouse. And I liked it, don't get me wrong. But I felt like the character of the blouse should lead more to the puff. There should be more continuity throughout the blouse. Because as I've looked at puff sleeves, one of the things that puff sleeves have is a little bit of just not solid, because then it just looks like a puff sleeve stuck on a pole to me. So I decided that to do a puff sleeve on this Monse's blouse would be a much better complement. And you can obviously be the one to decide if that's true or not, because that's what I did. I did the puff sleeve. So if we look at this frame blouse, and if we look kind of closely, what you want to see is where the gathers are. And the gathers, if you notice, go all the way under the arm. I know you can't see the back, but I looked at the back pictures. And again, you can search for this and you can find it, and you can see different views and different photos of it and kind of get a closer look. But all the gathers go from all the way up the cap. They go all the way around the cap. And there's so many gathers on there, and I know many times I've said to you, gathers typically are 1.5 to 1. This is not 1.5 to 1. This is extreme. So I decided it was 2 to 1, and I went ahead and started drafting my pattern. And so I want to show you the drafting process and how very simple it is. It's really a lot of fun. So I took a sleeve from another pattern, just a regular sew-in blouse sleeve. I took it from pattern 600, which is the classic blouse, because this is the classic blouse. It's just got a few little variations. So I took my classic blouse sleeve and I traced it. And then I measured the cap height, and the cap height is 6. So I doubled it and went to 12. And so I slashed. You want to draw a vertical line down the middle so that as you slash those pieces, you have an orientation point as to where to put them once you've slashed and spread. So you can see I have my line down the middle. So as I cut a line off, I could raise it up. And you're doubling it, so you're adding 6 inches. So I made 4 cuts, and I put an inch between each cut. So I had, or a little bit more, an inch and a little bit more. All right, not critical how you do that. You just don't want to do it with one slash, because then when you're taking your French curve and reconnecting these points, you're really just filling in the blank. You're not getting big jucks of changes. When you do more slashes, you get less change, and that's much easier to do than big, fewer slashes and big changes. So anytime you're doing gathers, the purpose for those multiple slashes is to somewhat preserve the shaping of the cap, and then just use your French curve and connect that cap. So this is the old, this is the new. All right, so then what I decided is, if you look at how that sleeve ends, it ends gathered into a band. And so I use the cuff. And if you go to the next picture, these are the pieces that I used. So if you notice, there's no reason to use a 2-piece sleeve and then do all the slashing. That's just more work than necessary. And on my 600, you have a short sleeve line. So I used my short sleeve line, and I used the cuff for this band. Now the cuff is a curve at the bottom. Just square it out, sew a circle, and I just serged it onto the bottom. You'll want to measure your arm and measure your cuff. So my blouse size, whatever size it is, I went up 1 size because your arm gets larger up here. So just be aware that your arm can change size, and you want it to stay above your elbow. So if it's too loose, it won't support the puff, which is what you want it to do. You want it to lend itself to this puff sleeve up here. Okay, so I think that any questions on the sleeve or how to do it or how I made it or anything like that, let me know. I want to then go to sewing, because in sewing this, and I'll go to the next photo, I think it's the next one. Yeah. Okay, so inside a puff sleeve, that's puff at the top, and not all puff sleeves, because the original frame blouse was 100% cotton, and cotton has a tendency to, shirting. It was a shirting cotton. Cotton has a tendency to stay up by itself. But I'm using now a cotton poly, and this cotton is really drapey and really soft. So I thought that when I did this puff sleeve, it wouldn't give any puff to it. It would just fall straight down. So I made a little poof is what I did there. And the way I did that is I just cut 2 layers, and you can see that's a little half moon. And I just made it like 2 inches wide at the widest point. It's just a small little piece. And then if you gather the straight edge, it will cause the outside edge to hold up a little bit. And then literally I just stitched it right into the shoulder seam. After I had set in the sleeve, I just stitched it at the shoulder. And so it just goes, it's probably like 4 inches long, a little half moon, 2 inches wide, and then fold the straight edge and stitch it in place. No fusible, no nothing, just 2 layers of fabric. And you can see what it's done to my little puff sleeve. It's made them puff, where before they were a little saggy. So they're just I'm sure you've seen them in garments. Nothing new, nothing I made up. Just when you have a puff sleeve and there's a soft fabric and you're trying to give it a little bit of height, this will do it. Okay? What is the difference between a puff sleeve and a gathered sleeve? Well, when you go to real pattern making terminology, puff is just telling you where it's located. Puffs are gathers. Gathered is kind of a variation of every gathered sleeve out there, every sheared sleeve. They're all gathered sleeves. A puff sleeve is specific to meaning where the gathering is located. So typically that gathering is located up in the upper arm, so it creates a puff. But it's a gathered sleeve, but specifically a puff. Okay, so you could say gathered all the time and you would be correct. All right? Okay, so that gave me a current look. And then I changed the blouse because I felt like the blouse now and the sleeve were a little more conducive to one another. And again, it's all styling, it's all your opinion. It's what makes sewing so fun. We get so many different variables. And I'm sure there's somebody out there saying, oh, I just don't like that. I'm good. I like it. And so we all just wear different things. And that's a good thing. Okay. So that is a lot of fun. Blouses. I want to look at this next blouse because this is Alexander McQueen. And that also is a puff because of where it's located. But I loved the variants of this. Now, Alexander McQueen, I don't know if... Do I have a price on that one?
Yeah, it's $9.80.
Yeah, $1,000. Now you're talking... I think this style is just a step above frame. So, not that I don't love frame, don't get me wrong. But when you're really looking for great stuff, if you look at more expensive, you usually find better. Not always. But look now how this was done. And if you notice again, there you could use the 2-piece sleeve for this. Because if you notice, it's right where that undersleeve comes into play. And the undersleeve is left on its own. And the upper sleeve is slashed and added. And again, I would say this is 2 to 1. You just simply watch where the gathers are. That's where your slashing is. 2 to 1. And again, it's got a band at the bottom. And this is extreme. This might even be 3 to 1. Because that's a lot of gathers in there for the space. But you can see it's like the look. It's what they're going for. So these sleeves definitely are. I appreciate that someone said something to me because I think to know how to do these. So next few weeks in YouTube's, I've got some really beautiful sleeves that I found and picked out. And I'm going to kind of focus on different sleeves, on different blouses, and kind of how to mix and match. And there's some really pretty stuff. Okay? Okay. So let's go back to trends. Blouses are big. Silks, cottons. We've got, and I know many of you have bought them. We've got so many cottons on our site, cotton polys, like this one. It absolutely feels like a silk, but it's not. It's a cotton poly. So the cottons are really taking an upgrade, I guess, with the quality of fabrics we have, and they're just beautiful. I know so many of you have ordered them, and in the store I say, you know, this is a cotton, and they'll say, no, this is not a cotton. Yes, we burn it. You know, we're burned. I'm a burn fanatic, just to make sure it is what it is. All right, so then let's do the next one. The next photo, we're going to go into, oh, that's a mistake. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's coming up on a YouTube, you guys. Sorry. I'm not sure. I must have put it in there accidentally. We'll go to the next one. Yeah, the dress. Yes. I've got a fabric very similar to this. I don't have it up yet. It's in the store. But I want you to look at this price because velvet and velour is so popular this fall. And I know if we've been around long enough, we've seen it come, we've seen it go. It's like craziness. But this velour is really, really popular, and it's all over. So velour and velvet, when you talk about what are the differences between the two, velvet is a longer nap. Velour is really shortened. So usually velvet is considered more expensive, more luxurious, and usually velvet doesn't have a stretch to it. Usually velour does. But a lot of times it doesn't matter if you call it velour or velvet. It's just not that much. It's not that big a deal. But both of those are really big. So I wanted to make a top out of velvet, out of velour. This in particular, I just thought was incredible. This is the 4882. It's got a linear vibe to it. So I just thought this pattern was perfect for it. But this pattern, you're going to make. I'm going to show you how to make it, okay? Is the sleeve eased to make the gathers? Is this sleeve eased? Well, there's no easing when you have gathers. You just literally add, and then you just gather the gathers up until it's a 1-to-1. The only reason you have ease in a sleeve is so that you have mobility. When you have all these gathers, you don't need mobility. You don't need any additional mobility. There's plenty of mobility in there because you've got all this extra fabric. Okay? So if we kind of understand why we have ease in sleeves, then we realize that the gathers replace that. Okay? Okay, so 4882. This is in the store last Saturday. I'd worn a top, and I hadn't worn it in a while, and I don't remember exactly when I made it, but I really liked it. And it got a lot of, comments and looks and investigations. It was fun. It was a really fun top. And so I decided I really have always liked it, but I decided to make it again. And so this is it. So we're going to start with 127 inch Achilles top. That's not available anymore. But you can make it from, if you don't have that pattern, you can make it from 195. So I pulled up 195. That etro dress, could it be made out of stretch velvet? Yes. Velvet is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but to me stretch velvet, and it's usually not stretch velvet, even though I've called it stretch velvet a lot. I think technically it's stretch velour. Velvet usually is not stretchy. It's usually a woven. I've got a beautiful cotton velvet in the store I'm going to put up shortly, and it's a hot pink. It's really, really pretty. 100% cotton velvet. It's very nice. All right, so with this, let's look at the pattern pieces as to how to do it. I first want to look at this next top. I just want you to see that velour is being used tops and bottoms. So when you talk about making comfortable outfits for the holidays, it's a great idea to use this velour. It's really popular. It's really stylish. You could make a pair of yoga pants and then a top to match, a pair of leggings and a top to match. It would all be incredible. All right, so with this one, let's look at those pattern pieces. And you're going to see that all you're making is an overlay. You're taking 195, you're duplicating the front. I'm going to extend this out to 15 inches and then just connect it to the bottom. And you do that to the front and you do that to the back. Yeah, how easy is that? So if you go back, when I originally did this, it was a Sally LaPointe, because I remember seeing that top. I was at Neiman Marcus, and it's a cashmere. It was a cashmere. It was just beautiful. But one thing that's really popular right now also is layers. So dual layers on tops instead of having just like a t-shirt. And I think it could be because it's a great way to take a t-shirt into winter and make it warmer. But they're taking 2 layers of shirts or tops or whatever. So there's 2 layers here. I put them together at the neckline, and I used a black fold-over velvet elastic because to me it was so rich looking, the black velvet, that I decided to do that. And we'll show close up for you. Look at that camera work. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I'm going to tell you something. This is just so fun on. So I took advantage of these. There's like a little stripe in here in this fabric. And I took advantage of it because once I made the overlay, I just put the overlay on the very edge, on the straight of the stripe, so that the whole thing kind of went on the bias. I didn't on the underlayer. On the underlayer, I just went ahead and did it straight. So if you're doing the 195, you want to lengthen it a little bit. I would lengthen it probably 5 inches or whatever works for your height. And then this overlay on top, being on the bias, it's just pretty. The velvet kind of reflects the light. I think it's just beautiful. And again, throw it on with a pair of black leggings, jeans, just really comfortable dressing. But the good news is when you go to the grocery store, nobody will ask for an ID. Because you look like you would never do anything dishonest, right? All right, so that's pattern number 127. Unless you don't have it, and then you can start with 195. Okay, are we okay for questions? Should we do questions? Or we're okay? You guys, that means you get it all, right? Okay. All right, we're good. Are you guys awake? A little glass of wine. I've heard so many stories about glasses of wine during webcasts. It's like, wait a minute, this is completely unfair. I have no glass of wine in my hand. So, all right, so we've got Monsees. We've got another little velvet. Let's talk about t-shirts. What's popular in t-shirts? Again, these dual layers. This is 145. It's St. John's top. And it's done in this adobe. This adobe is really popular for fall right now. I love it. It's like remember back in the 70s when the earth tones were really popular? I love the earth tones. My whole house was done in earth tones. And then all of a sudden earth tones were not in. It happened like overnight. It was awful because I couldn't afford to go out and replace all my earth tones. Everything got painted is what happened for me. But I love this. I just love this throwback of these colors. 145 is it's our PBS. The two patterns together come. So I know a lot of you have this pattern because you donated, and we really appreciate that. But I did want something a little spiffy. So I went ahead and did the crystals. And I did the black crystals here because I wanted to pair it with black. You want to do this before you actually cut it out. I mean, before you sew it. I actually cut it out, laid it down, did my whole design how I wanted it, and then went ahead and sewed. I don't know that I'd try to do it after you sew. You can. It's just much more complex. And you can see it, if a sheet of crystals, one sheet, I probably used half the sheet. But they're just fun. You can put them however you want because this was kind of asymmetrical. The little top part is asymmetrical. And you can see it attaches here, and then it's open from there. I decided to do the crystals kind of asymmetrical also. I'm just an asymmetrical kind of girl. I think it means I'm just crooked on everything. I think is what that means. How much extra fabric for the overlay? I'd probably do 1 yard for the overlay. And you're cutting one layer, one up, and especially if you're doing the velvet, because you want the nap to go the same direction. Otherwise, you could turn them and maybe do a half yard. But with this, I make sure I had a yard. Can use a woven pattern and use a knit fabric. Can you use a woven pattern and use a knit fabric? I think that's just a generic question. Yeah. But you will find that there's too much knit. Knits are beautiful because they reduce the amount of ease we need in a garment. And anytime you reduce the amount of ease, you look thinner. So to take a knit fabric and make it in a woven, it will just look, it will probably just look too big. Having said that, of course you can do it. You can't do the opposite, but you can do a knit fabric in a woven pattern. Okay? Did I say that right? You can do a knit fabric is that what I said? In a woven pattern. Okay, yeah, perfect. So you make the blouse and add the overlay. This one here is all for you. It's all in the pattern. This one's kind of a cowl overlay because cowls are so popular right now. They're just all over the place. I don't know if somebody just decided to reinvent them. I'm not sure what it is. This one's kind of a cowl. This one's straight. You don't want to do the cowl in this fabric, well, you could, but this is too linear for a cowl. A cowl really requires, it's a feminine, And so the fabric either needs to be a solid or a more feminine, whereas this is considered a masculine fabric because it's linear. So they're both done in overlays, but the difference is being the fabric and the way the overlay is done, if that makes sense. Okay? Okay, cool. I love that. I love it. You know, it's really fun for me because tomorrow morning when I wake up, we're upstairs at my house. Tomorrow morning when I wake up, I just come in here and get dressed. And it's pretty cool because I've got all these new things to wear. Like to make a holiday dress. What is a good fabric weight? That is way too generic of a question. Okay, so let me give you some parameters. You know, do you want the dress to be knit, woven? Do you want it to be like a t-shirt? Yeah, just shoot me an email. Shoot me an email. But I mean, it's a good question because everybody can benefit from the answer. But it's just too generic. Like Giorgio's top, like this, for instance, would be an adorable holiday dress. Just make it longer. You could even put a belt underneath it. This, the same thing. Make it longer. Don't make the overlay longer. Just make the dress part longer. So there's so many easy, cute little dresses that you can do. One of the upcoming Thursday nights that I'm going to do is it's that picture. Let's go ahead and show that picture. Sorry. It wasn't supposed to be in here, but anyway. Yeah. 5, yeah. Thanks, sorry. Yeah, so see this right here, I'm going to show how to do this with that little swag in the back. It's very, very, very easy to do. You guys will love this. But personally, I would do it as a top with leggings or jeggings underneath. So that's just me. It doesn't mean you couldn't do that in a dress, but if you're doing it as a dress, you could do that out of a woven princess seam, or you could do it out of a knit and do the whole thing knit. So there's so many different variables. So like I say, you make a holiday dress, you've got a little more detail that you want to think about to kind of hone in what you really want. You probably know what you want. Sometimes when we start off, we just start off with generic and then we've got to get a little more specific. Okay? Can you do the overlay in a woven and the base layer in knit? Yeah, that's the beauty of these overlays, you guys, because the way of mixing fabrics together is so much fun. It's just so much fun. In this particular case, there's nothing in here that needs to be knit. The base needs to be knit, the sleeve is knit to move, but the overlay is completely separate if you notice, and it could be a sheer, it can be, oh my goodness, just the ideas are just endless, and every time would be absolutely stunning and beautiful, as you can see. So, and in this case too, the cowl, you know a cowl can be a woven. So get it, make sure it's on the bias when you lay it out on your fabric, and you get a beautiful bias here. And again, it's hooked into this portion, but this is all loose. So this could all be woven, as long as you make sure you have enough circumference. But it can all be woven, and it would be absolutely beautiful. Just fun and easy and good. You guys are just thinking away. Way to go. I love it. Is 195 is 195 pattern for a knit? Yeah, 195 is our base t-shirt. I'm sorry I don't have a copy of it here, you guys. I usually have been trying to get the patterns and I didn't grab it. 195 is it's called the sweater set. It's our base t-shirt. It has a French dart, knit, front, back, and sleeve. But boy, is it's a good one. Okay, so then the next thing I wanted to talk about is they said to grab sweaters are just really popular for fall. Just a great, this question that I saw, and I saw it a couple times in a couple different places, sweaters that make you smile. Just a sweater that you love, you put it on, it just makes you happy. I don't think I told you, this is 48.84, I'm sorry, is the fabric. This is 48.83, and this is my sweater that I decided to make. So this is pattern number 215. It's called Nikki's Favorite Top. And the reason I chose this is because this pattern always makes me smile. Every time I put it on, every time I mean, I've made it numerous times, and I just love how it fits. I love how it feels. I think it's such a flattering top for all figure types that I just really like it. If you notice, the The focus is right at the bust, not the focus, because I did it in a print, so there really is no focus. It's just the texture. And it just leads way to have extra fabric underneath where we sometimes have a little tummy, or where we always have a little tummy, and it just kind of hides that. So this fabric, $48.83. So if Keita's watching, Keita was in the store on Saturday. Keita bought this fabric. And I told her I would just make something else with it. But I just changed my mind because this worked so much better. So if she, and I told her we'll see what I made with it. If you don't like it, Keita, come back and we'll figure out the next plan. But I just love this. This fabric is like it's kind of like a navy. It's got olive green. It's got gray. It's got it's just really, really pretty. And I just really like it. So to me, because it's a cotton poly and it's got a little texture to it, it feels like a sweater. So I decided that all of these were just great sweaters, and you could just take it and make a t-shirt and you'd have a great sweater, what felt like a sweater. Keep in mind, it's awesome to put your little, your capes over. And so the pattern of the month last month was our 320, our cape. So we're going to put that over it. And you can see it just makes a really nice combination. Cool? Looks great. Again, pair of jeans, and it's just a home run. Okay. The next thing I wanted you to see is this puffer jacket. I skipped that accidentally, Benjamin. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it, right? You know, these puffer jackets are really popular. Pattern 251, Geraldine's jacket. Oh, did I not put the puffer jacket in? Oh, I forgot it, you guys. Okay, sorry. I'm messing up on my pictures. It's been a really busy few weeks and I feel a little discombobulated, but anyway. It's the puffer jackets, meaning the down jackets, and it can be synthetic or down, it doesn't matter, but just fabric that is stuffed with, for warmth. So Geraldine's jacket, the original, was the puffer fabric. So the whole reason I made that 251 Geraldine's jacket, I don't have a copy up here, is I made the front woven and the arm, the sleeve, and the back I did knit purposely so that you could use a sherpa, a puffer fabric, or a down or whatever you found. All of those great winter fabrics, and then just pair them with a sleeve and a back. Okay? As we know, capes are they're going ballistic. They've just lost it. I mean, there's capes just everywhere in the store. If you get a chance, go into high-end, go to Neiman's, go wherever, and they're just, you can't pass a rack without there being a cape. And I keep thinking, okay, done that, done that, done that. We've done a lot of them. So I know you'll enjoy them. They are wonderful as holiday gifts. I'm sure you've probably got something in your stash you could play with and gift it to a friend, because it would make any woman really happy to have a great cape. All right, then the other thing I want to talk about is cardigans. Cardigans again, and I know many of us have gone to 915, and it's kind of our go-to cardigan, Hugo's favorite cardigan, but I want to go to Boston's cardigan, Boston sweater we call it. And it's this one here. Just love this. Love, love, love it. So I want to see if I can get you guys to love it as much as I do. $9.19. So let me tell you the fabrics I did. $48.81 and $48.80. So one of those two numbers, I don't know which one. I think it's $48.81. No, $48.80. I can't remember. Is a black cotton ribbed. It is gorgeous. 100% cotton. Black rib, both directions. It's just a lovely fabric. It's lovely to work with. So I decided I wanted that to be my base. And so you can see the top portion here, top of the sleeve, front panel, and then the back. And the whole entire back is simply the cardigan. So all of the fit, the movement is that ribbing. And of course, ribbing has such a great stretch to it that this makes it really, really simple to do. I paired this with 550, which is the cowl neck, and this is just that black cotton knit. But the ribbing is great to pair with other colors. Ribbing to me is like a great stash fabric simply because it's so classic. It's a classic fabric. And what we know about animal prints is they're not going anywhere. I was shopping with my sweetheart, and he said, it feels like I'm in an African safari. There's so many animals in here. And he's right. There was animal prints, literally like rack after rack, along with those capes. There was a lot of animal prints. So I remember probably 12, 15 years ago, I remember when they first started on, or maybe it's been longer than that, I don't remember. It's like, I don't know, like it was kind of risky to wear something like that. But now it's just part of our wardrobe, and they're fun. And we have one that's like a black and brown zebra looking one. It's really good looking. And then this one is like a little leopard. But they're easy to sew with. They're really fun to wear, and they're fun to pair with other fabrics, like with a solid fabric. Can you tell us the hem and the diagonal measurements on the blue overlay? Absolutely. Here, okay, so let's do a measure, because when I take measure, you always tell me you guys will remember it better. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to pull this out here, and that's 15 inches. So I'm 15 inches out, but keep in mind, you guys, that 15 is, I'm 5'8", so I'm a little taller, and my overlay is going to be a little wider. You don't want this to like wear you. I always say that. You want to wear the overlay, not have it wear you. So I would just measure from the base of your neck down to your elbow, or a little above. Probably a little above. You want it to be above your elbow, and that's the length I would use. But this one is 15, just FYI. Okay, and then I went from here. And again, you know, this measurement is just for me because it's my height and how much I added. But just for a record, that number is 32 inches on an angle. 32 for some of you would be way, way too long. But that works for me. And then just go to the sides. If you notice where the point is, that point is just to the other side of center front. So if you draw center front down here, it goes from this side, it goes to the other side of center front, so that you get this asymmetric feel when you're wearing it. And then the same with the back. Does that help? Okay. All right. So now I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of time and attention. These are our trends, and there's many more. I mean, the trends really go into kind of handbags. They go into shoes. You know, big clunky shoes are really popular. Thigh-high boots are still really, really in. I've been telling y'all for years to get your boots. I didn't get thigh-high, but I got over the knee. I just love them. Now, you all know I love them. I just love them. And I got flat, so they're so comfortable that, you know, I just can't. Someone said to me the other day, I said, what do you love about winter? I said, I need to know what you love about winter because I hate winter. So tell me what you love about winter. And they said, come on, it's the clothes. I said, oh, that's right. I forgot. The clothes are great. So it's a great time to clean out your closet, put in some new, fresh things. I mean, everything I have here, I decided that I just couldn't wait to wear it. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I want to mention this to you because we put these down, these little bows, they hook together on magnets. This is a great way to close a cardigan. So many of our cardigans don't have closures, and we're always kind of pulling them in or holding them, or, you know, they go loose. This little bow thing, remember, it's got the magnets on it. It is, I don't remember, it's on page 9, but it's on sale. It's several dollars reduced, and it's not expensive in the first place. So I love this thing. I actually use it all the time. And then there's times if I want to just put it on one side, I'll just put both the magnets. It's got a little magnetic part on the back and then magnetic on the front. It's a great little, it's just fun. And it keeps that cardigan together for you. And it's fashionable. What do you suggest for outerwear with overlays and puffy sleeves? Okay, so that's a really good question. I live in Eastern Canada. It gets really cold. Any cold climate has to kind of ditch fashion, because really your coat is what it's all about. But what I have noticed is, I think that's why, and I said it a little bit earlier, that's why they're doing the dual layers on the t-shirts, because you can still do these overlays. You can still do a coat over these, no problem. This, when you put a coat on, it'll just slide up here like this and stay underneath. And the fabric is so good, the minute you take that coat off, it'll be fine. And it's not that much that if it would, if it went up a little bit, it wouldn't feel like, your sleeve was stuffed with fluff. So I think you would do fine. The puff sleeve, something like what I've got on, it's small enough. I'll show you something. It's small enough that I think that even if you put a cape on over it or a coat, it's just not that big. You'd never know I had a puff sleeve on, and what would take over is just the neckline and the effect of the neckline. So I don't think it's a big issue. I don't think they're so dramatic. I mean, unless you go really, really dramatic. But I think, again, that's the beauty of sewing, is we really get to layer those things and think about how are we going to layer them and how puffy we're going to make it based on what we have to put it under. So I think it's a great question. And I'm sorry that you live in Eastern Canada. I'm not sorry I don't. No, but I know I've been to Eastern Canada, and it's really, really beautiful. It's just really, really cold. And I don't blame you for really, like preparing well. Okay, any other questions that we can touch base on? So everyone has a new patterns, 301. Oh my goodness, we're still waiting. So we're taking a shift, and we're doing our own patterns. We're starting to print our own patterns, and that's been a lot of years in the making. We're very, very excited about it. So our first pattern that we'll print will be our PBS pattern that we'll release in December, which is an accompanying pattern to the 100 series, the 1000 series, I'm sorry. So I made a call and kind of like, I don't know, I guess I was reminiscing over the last 20 something years that we've been a pattern company, and I decided to still have our same printer printed, and as I've mentioned before you all, that was McCall's, and they are closing, and I just know it'll come. But for all of you who've emailed me, I promise we're doing the best we can. We just our hands are kind of tied, and I think their hands, I don't know, it's too complicated to get into. What do you think of the shackets that are so popular? Well, I don't know what a shacket is, so here I learn what they are. What is a shacket? It's a shirt and a jacket, maybe? That's what I would call a shacket, is a shirt and a jacket. Tell me if I'm wrong. But, look, shirts that are I don't know, you guys. It's whatever. If you like them, go for it. It's not... What pattern number is the cape? The cape is 851. Bella's one-piece cape. The new 101 turtlenecks are incredibly. In fact, out of this black rib, boy, that 101 is just a home run to make. The 101 is that mock turtleneck. Just to have a base mock turtleneck like that, I would make it sleeveless, long sleeve, 3/4 sleeve, and really just so that whatever you wore it with, you would have it to match. Because those turtlenecks are really stylish. And for you in Eastern Canada, I'd layer those turtlenecks, okay? You could wear 2 or 3 at the same time, and that would be okay. I had a gal in a class, she was from Scandinavia, I think it was. Anyway, it was very, very cold, and she said she just learned how to layer sleeves and how to make the smallest one and then the next size up and then the next size up, so that she didn't get bound up inside. They actually layered nicely, and she was just never cold. Her arms and back were always warm. I thought, boy, that's way to go. Just, when you crawl into bed at night or when you take a shower, it's a lot of work. All right. A shirt made in heavy fabric. Look, it's a masculine look. To me, it's a little masculine, and but I guess you could make it feminine. So if you're asking my opinion, I haven't put in any real time into this answer. I'd probably pass on it. There's so many beautiful things out there. Shackets aren't necessarily beautiful. Not what I'm looking at, okay? I'm just looking at shirts that are jackets. That's interesting. Shackets. I wonder who made that one up. That's pretty good. Shackets. Easy to do. You could use pattern 600. Probably harder to sew with all that thick fabric. But not hard to come up with. As long as if you wear it open, I know there's so many great jackets. Like, to me, 920 is just a great jacket. And that new fabric we have, I don't know, it's a Lafayette 148 because it was actually in the store. I saw the fabric in the store, and then we got it, and I was so excited. It's just such a beautiful combination. It's like a little bit of a rain waterproofing to the exterior of the fabric. It's just really a pretty combination. So I like jackets. All right. I'm planning to make your trench coat for winter with a thick zip out lining. Would you say one size up would work in that case? You know, you guys, I think by habit, we default to this one size thing. If you look at the W sizes, one size is 4 inches. You do not need 4 inches for a zip out lining or to keep warm. So I do think you need to go larger, but I hate for us to just default to a size because it's really too generic of an answer. So you know what I would do? I would go back to the store. I'll bet where you live, there's plenty of stores that have jackets, especially Burberry. If you've got a Burberry store, they've got really expensive stuff. Zip out all this stuff. Measure that coat. Measure how much it is and then go buy the measurements. And I think that's the best way for you to come in really close to what you like and what you want. I know I hate to say the same old answers again, huh? What is velveteen? Velveteen is, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think velveteen is actually a trademark name for a short, very short pile velvet. Velvet is more luxurious and longer, and I think velveteen is very short. But I don't know if it means knit, woven, I'm not sure. Velour, I know what velour is, but I don't know what velveteen is. I don't even know if velveteen is out anymore. I think that was a trademark name from a while ago, but I'm not positive on that. If a certain size works for me in one particular pattern, then afterwards, can I continue to use the same size? Yes and no. You can, but keep in mind that every size you use is going to depend on the ease that you want. This is a good example, this 919. So keep in mind this 919 is based off, it's a knit, it's based off 195. So if I made 919 the exact same size I made 195, 195 has a little bit of negative ease. So I don't want negative ease in a cardigan. I want it to be equal or maybe even a little extra. But definitely not negative ease. So I would not use the same size that I had used in the sweater set. Just FYI. Because you want it to close, you don't want it to pull. If you go to close it, it'll look like it's pulling. If you're going to wear it open, that's a different story. Just always consider the garment. And I would start with that size, and until you just get more familiar, just throw together a muslin. We've got that really, I'm so excited about that new muslin we have, you guys. It's very inexpensive. It's a woven muslin. And actually, we have coming in real muslin. I decided to start carrying it. It's been requested by you all over and over again. So we have right now a limited amount. It'll go up probably tomorrow or the next day. I've got some Black Friday pricing going on. All of the fabric right now that's going up is all Black Friday pricing. I bought it all for Black Friday, and I know Black Friday. We have a Black Friday, a Blacker Friday, a Blackest Friday, and then an Ultimate Black is what we decided to do. Really just so that on our end, we kind of honored really good prices for you, and on your end, you can take advantage of the savings. This is a good time to do that. So be careful in your sizing not to always use the same size because the style and the fabrics change a little bit. So just be aware of that. But yes, the question is, so for me, classic blouse, I used the same size to make this Monse's blouse. Didn't make any changes to it. Whatever the changes I made to my classic blouse, I made to this one, and I love it. I just love it. I love it. It's so pretty. I just really, really like it. Okay, any other questions? 8:52. That means we have 8 minutes of either answering questions or not. Are all pattern measurements finished size? They are. And I want to just talk to you a minute, if I don't mind, about how critical that is. Because you understand, and the story I told over and over all those years traveling to trade shows was if you had 3 women and they were all the same bust size, but one was age 20, one was age 40, one was age 60. I have to up these ages now because I'm, past that mark. But anyway, the 60-year-old, it's still true though, the 60-year-old and the 20-year-old, they have the same bust size. But they're not going to wear their garment the same. So you cannot pick out a garment by your bust size. You can't do it. Because then somebody else is deciding how much ease you're wearing. And ease is based on age, religion, It's based on all kinds of stuff. Whether you're married, whether you're not, there's so many things. It's called personalities. So you don't want somebody else deciding what ease is in your patterns. So the first thing when I started a pattern company, I was going to let you all choose. Now for a lot of you, that's hard to do because you say, I don't know what I like. And I understand that. Then, you got to take a pause and go shopping and find things you like and try them on and measure the stuff you like. And I'd measure the stuff you don't like because that tells you what your ease is. Okay, and it's going to be different in knits than it is in wovens, etc., etc. Okay, but you cannot pick out a pattern by a bust size. You can't. And I know that's the way you've been taught, but I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. What pattern is the rusty brown top? That is called Adobe. This one, I'm assuming you're talking about? Yeah. It's called Adobe, the color, and it's pattern 145. St. John's top. That's on our PBS. It's on our patterns. But when you click on it, it'll take you to the PBS because you can only buy this pattern with the PBS one. But we really appreciate your support because we really need it. So thank you. Okay, what else? The bow clasp, is it available on your site? Yes. Currently now, because of the way the fabrics are right now, go to page 9. I'm pretty sure it's page 9. I'd give you the fabric number. It's under fabrics, but I don't know the fabric number. But if you go to page 9, it's on page 9. I think there's only, the 10 is the last page. Go to page 9 and you'll see it. There's a bow, and it has the price, but then when you put it in the cart, it's going to be several dollars cheaper. It's an in-cart sale. We'll announce it tomorrow officially, but I'm just going to let you know tonight. When I put a size 3 armhole on a 5W tank sweater set, well, tank or sweater set, those are different. The bottom of the armhole matches, the bottom of the size 3 armhole matches the side seam below the original 5W armhole. Is that to be expected? I don't know. Don't worry about it. If it works, it works. If you've got a size 3 armhole and you're lining it up on the 5, just follow the lines. Don't anticipate what it should do or what it shouldn't do. If it's a 3 template, a 3 sleeve, and you put on the 5 and you go from the shoulder point to the side seam, bam, you're in. Okay? So I guess the answer is yes. That's to be expected. All right? Sometimes I do think it's interesting that we have expectations of what the answer should be, and even though they may not always be accurate, we kind of hold to those expectations. It's kind of interesting sometimes. I love that blue linear fabric. What number is it? I know, isn't that beautiful? It's kind of like it's not a teal because it doesn't have really green in it. This fabric number is 4882. 4882. I think it's right on the front page still. We just put it up earlier today. I'm wanting to raise an armhole on Robin's jacket. Just wanted to make sure that I would take a tuck across the cap to remove the same amount that I'm raising the armhole. Well, yes, I hate saying yes and no, but yes and no. So yes, when you're raising that armhole, please be aware of numbers. Don't just say you want to raise it because you put on a muslin. Go to your jackets. I'm assuming you've done all this. You've got the jacket and our armholes are bigger and you want to make it smaller. So you're raising the armhole. That tuck is half of how much you're raising the armhole because the tuck has 2 sides to it. So be very careful. So many times in class, when I'm in class and they're going through this exercise and then they say, will you come check this? And I go over to look at it. They've taken double out of the cap height than what they should have because it's, if you're raising the armhole, let's just say a ½ inch. ½ inch in the front and a ½ inch in the back. The tuck across the cap would be a ¼ inch, and that will do it. Okay, just be careful of those numbers. And sometimes with numbers like that, the more we think about it, the more confusing it gets. So make sure it's not at midnight that you're doing it. I usually use a smaller armhole on a bigger bodice. Okay, that means you're probably big busted, but you have little arms. Usually I have to extend the side seam up. That makes sense Reverse of what the other posters say. Don't listen to these other people, you guys. Just do the armhole. The template is so simple. Bam. And take it to the side. Sometimes you have to raise it up. Sometimes it goes down. Okay? Is the finished waist size in your patterns also for the hip size? No, because most of our patterns, like if the knit tops and stuff, they don't go down to that. They don't go down that far. But if they do go down that far and we don't have a hip, then yes, it's the same. It just goes straight down. Okay? 8:59. I hate to cut it off because I do think it's really good for you guys to have a chance to just ask questions. And I do appreciate that you have them. And sometimes I know it's hard to ask. You know, the minute you shut this down, oh, I should have asked that question. You know, so sometimes to have some lag time is a good thing. Does the blue velour have a good drape for 600 classic blouse? It does, you guys, but let me just tell you my philosophy, okay? On this. This is a knit. Why make a knit into a classic blouse? It's a knit. Why go through all the work of doing buttonholes and buttonhole extensions? And that's not logical to me. Now, you guys can do whatever you want, but when you have a knit and you have stretch in both directions, this is your time to take it easy and make it simple and not go to the complexity of a blouse. And I'm not saying they're complex, but when we started and I said a blouse is going to take you more time than this. This probably took me a third the time of what the blouse did that I have on, just simply because it's a knit versus a woven. So while the answer is yes, it would make a beautiful classic blouse, I don't think it's the best fabric pattern combination. That's all. Okay? And remember, that is only an opinion of one. Peggy, are you doing any traveling for workshops like you used to? I have 0 workshops planned. So that would be yes and no too. Because the goal is, yeah, I love you guys, man. I just love getting onto workshops because there are times when y'all swear that you are so right and you are not. And it's not that you're not smart, but you've been taught things that are wrong and you just think they're still right. And so a lot of focus on patterns in workshops. And it's really fun for me to show you why you're wrong, to show you why XYZ works all the time, 100% of the time, all the way across the board. So I love workshops. But COVID's really taken away the workshops for a while. It doesn't mean they won't come back, but it doesn't make sense when people are nervous about going to workshops, I want people to have no reservations. And in some of the workshops I've done recently, you know, there's been little tiffs about vaccination and non-vaccination. You know, I don't want to divide us. I want to bring us together. And so for a little while, we won't have any planned. We don't have anything planned. We do have the New York trip planned. We have Spiffy planned in the fall or in the summer, next summer. But we won't do any workshops for a little bit. We have the store though. You guys can always come in and there's actually a fitting class. I'm going to call it a holiday fitting class that we're going to have at the store where you can come in and bring your holiday outfit that you're looking to make and I'll help you fit it, or, you know, we'll help each other. But anyway, that'll be fun. And then our holiday party, which we'll have up, I keep saying we'll have it up next week, but we'll have it up next week. We've got to get it up. And the way we're going to do this, let me talk about this for just a minute, you guys, so you clearly understand what we're going to do. So my big concern is because we want to have food, we're having a chocolate fountain, we're having all kinds of fun. I have to know how many people roughly are coming. So we decided that if we charged $11, so when you sign up, you have to pay $11. So you can do 2 things with that $11. You'll get a receipt. You can bring it and get a free yard of fabric, any fabric in the store. Or you can say, I don't want any fabric. I want my $11 back, and we'll give you $11 back. It's just, I don't want to charge you. I just simply want to know about how much food to have so that we're prepared for you. I don't want to run out of food. I want to have enough. And also, if you decide, hey, we're going to come, and you haven't bought a ticket, you still come. We'll have a little extra, but by having a registration, by having you all sign up, it'll give us a really good idea as to how many people we plan to expect. You know, the last thing I want is food for 20 when there's 100, or vice versa. So that's what we came up with. Please don't everyone think, oh, she's charging for her party. No, I'm not charging for a party. I just want to be able to kind of get a count. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so now we've got a little over. We'll be coming to the Pendleton Woolen Mill Portland store grand opening. You know, we went back and forth, and we ended up not doing it. So it doesn't mean we won't come to the Pendleton store a little bit later. Corinne is the new manager, and she has a lot on her plate with that store grand opening, and we just couldn't get the details worked out. It's actually the 15th. I think it's Monday that it starts. Anyway, I'm not sure. Next week. But for all of you, go and support that store. It's a lovely store, wonderful store. They've done a beautiful job with it. And Pendleton is a sponsor for PBS. So tell Corinne hello. Tell her that, you know, we want to have the classes, and she knows that. She's just a really good person. I think there just got to be too much on her plate. And I have to go out of town tomorrow, and I just couldn't add it in. So we just decided to pause till later. Okay, but we'll have it. We'll do it. Okay. Thanks for being here, you guys. The goal is to have happy sewing. We've got beautiful fabrics. All of these fabrics, I think all these fabrics are $9.99. So it is the time. Blacker Friday is coming up this Friday. Happy sewing from Silhouette Patterns.